Our next presenter is a repeat performer. I think he's actually maybe done all of our research slams. So please join me in welcoming Professor Caleb Seifert, who's a professor of psychology. And I'm reading slow so he can get mic'd. Caleb's topic is Stay Away It Hurts, How Attachment Ambivalence Contributes to Stress-Related Physical Symptoms in Young Adults.
I've long thought that when you become a professor, you should just automatically get a master's in audiovisual. It should just be given to you. So I'm Caleb Seifert. I'm a professor in behavioral science. The title of my talk is Stay Away It Hurts, How Attachment Ambivalence Contributes to Physical Symptoms in Young Adults. So if you want to avoid illness, health psychology has some things that you could learn from it. First, exercise. Second, sleep. Third, eat healthy. But surprisingly, there's some other things that you can do that aren't so intuitive. One of them is have good friendships. Have some close relationships with people that you care about. Health psychology, one of its most consistent findings is there's a social immune system, and people who have better relationships get sick less frequently. When they do get sick, they have less intense symptoms. And they also recover from being sick faster. And don't take my word for it. Take Dr. Sheldon Cohen, a Carnegie Mellon fellow who researches stress and immune function. He does fun studies like brings you into the hospital, exposes you to the flu virus, and then he sees which of you get sick. Here's his data. People lower in sociality get sick much more. But why? Why is that? Well, there are many possible explanations. One is we know that stress is linked to immune function. For example, people who are more stressed, natural killer cells don't work as well for them. They have fewer red blood cells. All of this increases vulnerability because red blood cells battle evil virus cells. In addition, stress causes us to release cortisol, which also lowers immune function and makes inflammation worse, which makes you have worse symptoms if you do get sick. So we know that social support reduces risk, but what are the specific mechanisms through which that occurs? One possibility is that people who have access to social support are literally doing things that people who don't do not. Rose's presentation is a good example of that. Another way is humans are complicated. We think about relationships, and how we think about relationships can affect us. You want to be stressed? Just imagine your partner cheating on you. That will cause you stress. It also could be both. People who have more positive expectations of relationship interact more positively with others, while those who have more negative tend to isolate more and are stressed more. In addition, some people thinking about their relationship is actually a source of stress. So thinking about it brings stress on. We've linked this to attachment style. Most people, about 70% of the United States, have a secure attachment style, meaning they're balanced. But some people are very avoidant. They don't like relationships. They keep others distant. They're too cold. Some are very warm. They're very clingy. The thought of losing a relationship is terrifying to them. This study is going to focus mostly on insecure styles. But there's also a third insecure style that we've studied here at University of Michigan-Dearborn. There turn out to be a group of people who are both. They are simultaneously afraid of getting close, and they really desire relationships. As you might expect, these people tend to be at risk for the worst outcomes, and they have historically been poorly measured. I've done a lot of research in my life, but I would say I'm only proud of a little bit of it, and I'm very proud of this. So working with the students, we've developed a measure that looks at this specific type of attachment insecurity, and that's known as attachment ambivalence. And if you're interested in that, you can find more information on the website. So the present series of studies is designed to look at how relationships might impact stress. The first study will look at attachment, capacity for healthy dependency, and does attachment influence that, and what are their unique and shared pathways to stress. The first study is done in 483 college students. So first, did attachment relate to stress-related physical symptoms, things like headaches? Absolutely it did. All three were related. Attachment ambivalence was the most related. Don't worry so much about these numbers. Instead, look at this circle. Unfortunately, counter to my expectations, good I guess too, attachment ambivalence was the most significant unique predictor. So why? Why was this happening? Well, it turns out the primary reason is just being concerned in this way increases your stress level. But also what we saw was people who were concerned in this way engaged in much less healthy dependence. They turned much less to others for support. And that too was a path. In study 2, we did the exact same type of thing, but we used a community sample. This time we didn't study healthy dependency. What we studied was intimate behavior. How often do you turn to your primary partner for support? We found a similar pattern of results from the first study, but everything was higher. Folks out in the community, the more insecure attachment that they had, the more stress-related physical symptoms and pain they experienced. This time I got pretty much exactly what I predicted, yay, which was attachment anxiety and ambivalence each had unique pathways. For this presentation, I'm just going to focus on ambivalence. I had predicted that attachment ambivalence would lead directly to stress. So the more you worried about your relationships, the harder relationships were for you, the more stressed you'd be. But I also thought it would cause fear of intimacy, and indeed it does. However, this doesn't seem to be an explanation for why these individuals have more pain. Finally, in a third sample, what we did is we looked at attachment again, and this time we looked at interpersonal behaviors more generally, not just in your intimate relationships, but interpersonal behaviors more generally as unique pathways to stress-related symptoms and pain. What we found was a lot of relationships. I'm just showing you a few. The attachment findings are pretty much identical to the prior study. Yay, replication is good, especially in psychology. We had a problem with that recently. And again, the unique paths are the same. What's a little bit more interesting here is, again, we find the same primary relationship. That one, directly being ambivalent makes you stressed, but also ambivalent people, when they are in relationships, have trouble setting boundaries, and this increases their stress and pain. In addition, they're more likely to isolate themselves from other people, lowering their access to social support, and that contributes for pain. About 33% of the reason these individuals have problems with pain is that the way they're engaging with other people is problematic. A part of how this is helpful is there are some implications. One, you can use attachment ambivalence as a screener for who's likely to have high stress. Two, changing the way people think about other people, increasing their ability to have healthy boundaries, decreasing isolation, and increasing the capacity for healthy dependency all reduce stress. These are things clinicians target. If you want to know more, several students are presenting on this topic today at the student presentation, and also many of their posters are online. Thank you very much for your time.